mentoringme.com on successful job interviewing. I'm Michael Miller, and I just want to go through a couple of quick tips. I know a lot of people are going to be overconfident in this area, and that's where they make their mistakes usually. So let me cover things that you probably already know, like make sure you don't have gum in your mouth. Laugh if you want, but I've interviewed people who had forgotten, and it makes a very unprofessional impression. Also, make sure you go to the restroom before you go into the interview itself. Let's talk about how you dress for the interview, because again, I think a lot of people are overconfident in this area. It is fine if it's part of your personality to wear bright colors, to show a little cleavage, to show a little personality in the way that you dress, but not so much in an interview. Okay, when we're interviewing you, we're anticipating that you are at your best on that day. And after we hire you, you're going to get a little bit more comfortable. You're going to be maybe a little bit more risky with the way that you're dressing. So if you're wearing really bright colored clothes or wild patterns, or like I said, showing a little bit too much skin or something like that, we're going to anticipate that it's going to progress from there and maybe get a little bit unprofessional. So even if it's borderline, don't wear it in the interview. Okay, if you're a guy, stick to wearing as conservative a suit with a tie, usually, depending on what job you're interviewing for, and not making your clothes the center of attention. That's really the job of how you dress. And the same thing for women. Tone down the colors, dress very conservatively, and for everybody, not too much on the perfumes or colognes, not too much on the makeup for the ladies. Again, we're not trying to change who you are, but visually, you know, in our minds, we're anticipating that you're at your best then, and it's going to get a little bit more lax after the fact. So actually, you need to be at your best. So when we mentally take you down a notch or two, it does fit as far as what you typically will dress. As far as the interview itself, make sure you arrive 15 minutes early. You don't want to be 45 minutes early. If I'm sitting in the back, I'm busy. You know, number one, I'm going to make you wait. Number two, another recruiter or another hiring manager might think, I feel a little bit of pressure to go out there and I'm a little bit irritated. Don't show up 45 minutes early. The same token, don't show up right on the dot, and certainly not late. It's unprofessional, it's disrespectful. I probably have a very busy day of interviews, and you're the one that wants the job from me. So 15, maybe 10 minutes early. Be prepared, be ready to go when I'm available. I set the appointment. I'm going to try to finish my other interviews or whatever I'm doing and be on time. But you're the one looking for the job. You need to be a little bit early and ready to go when the appointment is there or when I'm ready to interview you. Okay, as far as what to bring. What to bring is going to depend a little bit on the job that you're interviewing for and the conversation maybe that you had with the hiring manager or recruiter ahead of time. Certainly, I would try to find out who I'm meeting with, how many people I'm meeting with, and I'm going to, at the very least, bring that number plus one or two extra copies, very professional looking copies of my resume. Now, if it's a sales job or some other job that is heavily related to your track record, you might also bring a portfolio or at least a couple of different things, past performance, copies of past performance reviews, copies of letters of recommendation. You don't have to whip it out in the interview, but to have it available if needed, if they want to take a look at it, is a very good thing. If you know there requires certification or you receive some sort of merit award that relates specifically to this job, I would have it. You don't necessarily use it every time, but I would have it at the interview if you can. I would say probably the most overlooked part of interviewing is body language, eye contact, and your tone of voice in smiling, looking friendly. Now, this is especially true if you're interviewing for a job that involves you dealing with the public. If I can't picture you in the job during the interview, I mean, I've literally interviewed people that sounded and came across as very angry, very bitter, maybe even rude, and they were interviewing for a job where they were going to deal with our customers. That's not the impression that you want to make, because I'm not even going to consider hiring you. Again, go back to the mentally, I'm thinking you're at your best today, and it's probably going to come down when you're actually in the job. So if you're a little bit angry, persona, if you're a little bit rude, I imagine you're going to be a lot rude if I hire you to our customers, and I'm not interested in that, because I'm just going to have to replace you and fix whatever damage I can that you may have caused. So as far as body language, you don't really want to be too relaxed. You don't really want to be too aggressive. You don't want to be jittery. You want to show interest. I have a habit of talking with my hands. I'm passionate about what I do. It depends on what job you're interviewing for, frankly, as to whether or not that is going to be a hindrance. If it's a sales job or recruiting job or most jobs, I wouldn't mind somebody talking with their hands. But if it's something where you need to make presentations, and this would be maybe very distracting, then I would take that into consideration. Eye contact, again, it's going to depend on how many people you're interviewing with, but if you're just interviewing with one person, you really should have about 75-80% eye contact. If it's 100%, it's a little bit creepy and weird, and I'm not dealing with that. But you also don't want to be looking off into space and not making eye contact. It conveys to me, if I'm interviewing you, that you're not very confident. And if you don't believe in your abilities, why should I? You know yourself better than I do. And if you know that there is problems with your abilities, then I'm going to assume that you're right. So eye contact, body language, tone of voice. You don't want to be too meek, especially if you have to communicate as part of the job. You don't want to be too loud. You don't want to be angry sounding. You don't want those things to distract from you and your abilities and your track record. You want me and my focus as I'm interviewing you to be on those abilities. And if you are distracting me with the way that you dress, the way that you act, the way that you can't seem to make eye contact, or you don't sound or act friendly or confident, then you're basically just shooting yourself in the foot. Your goal is really just to be relaxed and confident and be able to convey the answers to the questions that the interviewer is asking you. I hope that helps. I hope you're not overconfident. I hope you take time to kind of think about this overlooked part of interviewing. And again, I wish you luck in the interview process.